The prayer of Examen is a practice that we use at the end of the day, and we reflect on the events of our day. We're not going to evaluate whether we did good or did bad. We're looking for the presence of God in our life. The first step is to give thanks for all the gifts that you have received in your life. Give thanks for the gift of life itself. And think about during your day, were there any points of joy that I want to lift up, and give thanks in that moment. The next step is to offer a petition of grace, saying, God, it's not always easy to recognize your presence in my life. I pray that you help me in this time to understand that you are present in my life. And I pray that I might be able to recognize those moments in this time of prayer. The next step is to do an inventory of your daily activities. And so it's helpful to write all this out. You don't have to be real detailed, but just jot down some notes so that you are able to keep track of what's going on. Helps in the mental process to write things down a little bit. So go through the events of the day. What happened first? How was I feeling? What was my emotional state? What was my physical state? And sort of give an account of sort of what took place. What was the mood? What was the atmosphere? How was I in that moment? And then ask yourself, how was God present in that moment? Look for a way in which you can recognize that God was there. And so you want to go through your day, each event by event, and do this. What was my emotional state? What was my physical state? What was the mood of what was going on there? How was God present in that moment? And when you come to the end of the day, you can take that inventory that you have and say, God, I present this to you. This is for you to evaluate. I'm not here to evaluate it. I'm simply here to look for your presence in my life. You can consider Psalm 139, in which it says, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my thoughts. See if there's any wicked way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. That's saying, God, you take care of the judgment part. Right now, I'm just wanting to recognize that this is what my day was, and this is where you were present for me in that time. After you have offered your day's events to God, you go back and review that list again, look at it from top to bottom, and once again, look for those moments in which the presence of God was there. Whether you were aware of it or not, you can point to a moment and say that God was with me in that time. Look for a moment of closeness, or maybe a moment of distance. Where was God present and I had no clue? Where was I feeling very distant from the presence of God? Where was I feeling maybe a connection? And you might want to really consider, what is the presence of God? This is something that you'll have to decide on your own, whether it's the presence of a loved one, the recognition of a beautiful moment. What is the presence of God for you? And how does that interact with your daily life? And so the next step is to live in grace, saying, thank you, God, for these moments. I appreciate the opportunity to reflect on this, recognizing your presence in my life, and I pray that I may be more aware of your presence in my life. The idea of the prayer of Examen is for us to recognize God's presence in what has taken place in the recent past, but if you do this long enough, you'll come to a place in which you are starting to recognize the presence of God in your life, not just in reflecting on the past, but in the moment. So you'll have those times in which you can feel connected. You can feel the closeness of the divine. And so that's the prayer of Examen. It does take some time. It's a lengthy process, but it's a very valuable process, and you will be blessed by it if you choose to use it. So I encourage you to give it a try, see if it works for you. All right, hope you have a good day. Bless you. Take care.